let's talk about unlikable patients. We all have them, we all struggle with our feelings about them, and indeed they can present challenges not only to us, but also to people who interact with them in their day-to-day lives. They are the subject of my latest piece, Dear Doctor, You Can't Fix Everyone. Now, if I'm very honest with you and also with myself, I was inspired to write this piece by an individual that I dated some years ago. We don't need to get into the sordid details, but in brief, this is someone who was not particularly kind in general and was quite disrespectful towards women. And I found myself wondering what happens to people like that later on in life. And then I found out through residency that the answer is nothing good. Individuals like the one I just described and also like the patients in my piece tend to engage in long-term maladaptive behaviors that just are not conducive to sustaining relationships, either personal or professional. These are people who chronically engage in manipulation, selfishness, even abuse, and they refused until too late in life or at all to introspect, and they found themselves enduring what I would consider the natural consequences of those behaviors. Colloquially, people would call these individuals narcissists or sociopaths, which are very different terms in common parlance than they are clinically. But I believe what people mean when they're using those labels, generally speaking, is these are people who engage in toxic behaviors over the long term. So when I would meet these people, they tended to be very lonely and they would wonder, why am I isolated? Why are people not engaging with me? But they also refused to change. And so I was talking about this with my attending, kind of frustrated that they just weren't doing well, and my attending told me, don't work harder than the patient, which is very, very on point advice. I would encourage every physician to take that advice to heart, because sometimes you can offer everything in your arsenal, all the compassion, the empathy, the medications, and the therapy. If a patient is not at the point where they're willing to develop the insight and willing to grow from those interactions, then there really is a limit to what you can do for them. Check out my article on MedPage Today, and thank you for watching.